Okay, guys, 5 minutes left for now, and yeah, we are getting ready. So this is my earnings call live stream. Max from AlphaForge AI is here. This is an experiment. I have no idea how it's gonna go, but yeah, let's get into it. I would say we can wait another few minutes until the earnings call actually start, and then I will start the show. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I don't think anybody's here, but that's okay. I'll be doing my thing. um, okay. Hello, everyone. Hope you can see me well. And we got about 2 minutes left till the earnings call starts, and I got my setup ready. Basically, oh yeah, let me adjust to full screen. And you got ChatGPT. I got some prep, the latest numbers. It seems that they beat the expectations, so that looks all solid. The numbers are already out. But yeah, let's get to that in a minute. I will talk about like what's the agenda basically, and talk about my workflow that I built to analyze this whole thing. So yeah, here we go. And I won't play the call for the first time, for the whole time, the earnings call. We'll look into it at some point, but yeah, for the beginning I will be talking about our roadmap for today, basically my agenda, my personal agenda, talk a bit about AI in general, the AI bubble, and so on. So okay, now it's starting, and I gotta record. Start the recording. That's the most important thing for me. So I have to record the earnings call. That's why I'm here. And then the goal is to analyze it immediately after
my name is Sarah, and I will be your conference operator today.
Okay, here we go. It's
At
running.
this time, I would like to welcome everyone to NVIDIA's third quarter earnings call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press star 1 again. Thank you. Toshiya, you may begin your conference.
Yeehaw.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NVIDIA's conference call for the third quarter of fiscal 2026. With me today from NVIDIA are Jensen Huang, President and Chief Executive Officer, and Colette Kress, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to remind you that our call is being webcast live on NVIDIA's Investor Relations website. The webcast will be available for replay until the conference call to discuss our financial results for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2026.
Okay,
the content of today's call is NVIDIA's property.
Is it still playing? Oh, yeah, it's still playing. Okay. So my recording is running, basically. That's the most important thing. That I'm recording this like a quant. I have a second device here next to me where I'm basically running the recording via like two different softwares just to be sure. I had some issues. I was in a Baidu earnings call yesterday and wanted to record it, and the recording had some error. I don't know why. The recording didn't go as planned. I mean, I can hear everything. I got the file. It looked all good, but in the end, the recording wasn't accepted from my database when I had tried to upload it. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. What's up? Utopia. How are you doing? How can I actually answer you? Okay. My first live stream. So yeah, that's why I said this is gonna be fun. Can I answer you? I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll just speak. So welcome, my first guest. You're my VIP today. And let's jump a bit into what we want to do. So my agenda for today is talking a little bit about the AI bubble thesis in general, then present my workflow, which I built to analyze this earnings call immediately. So I built a little AI tool to do an automatic analysis right after we're done. Of course, the earnings call has to finish first, right? We have to finish the recording, and then I can do an immediate analysis and showcase. And I will also explain the workflow before that and so on. So that's the rough plan for the first 10-15 minutes. Then we might listen in the earnings call as well, comment a bit, see a bit what's going on there, and then we will talk a little bit about the repercussions and what it actually means for the AI industry in general. So that's the rough play. Why is it important, right? NVIDIA, it might literally decide where the entire AI sector trades and heads for the next 3 months. So let's break it down properly. And as an intro, my name is Max from AlphaForge AI. I built AI workflows so you can be your own hedge fund. That's the goal, right? I'm not your guru. I'm not the AI super brain or whatever, right? I just want to build simple stuff that everybody can use, everybody can copy, and test it live and in public. And that's what we're going to do today. So welcome to the show. Why is NVIDIA so important? So it's not just another tech company, obviously, right? It's basically the backbone of the entire AI build out. And if demand slows there, right, it means slowing down of the whole AI story in general. And I think that's kind of out of the question already, because I saw the numbers, they beat expectations, and overall it shouldn't be like as some people expected. So the stock already jumped. Let's take a look at the chart. So here we go. A tiny little bit, basically, but I will go to that in a moment. I also have an AI stock analyst agent that actually analyzed the stock Oh yeah, okay, here I can see his post already jumped to 196. So yeah, the numbers seem to be good. Everything seems to be better than expected. Yeah, so that's a good sign, obviously, for not just for NVIDIA but for the whole AI industry. So give me a sec. I will get back to my structure in a moment. Okay, just to show the agenda here as well from time to time. I'll just copy it here. So yeah, we'll do a live analysis after the earnings call is done as well. So what I will do is this. So this is my workflow. Here we go, and it consists out of two parts. Very simple, actually. Up there is the actual transcription of the audio file. And for that, I just need to change the audio file link each time, basically. That's set manually. So what I need to get is a link where that is public, obviously, and that can be where the AI can immediately download it. Assembly AI is the tool I'm using, and it needs to be downloadable. So what I'm doing is I'm recording on my PC, like a quant would do it, or a hedge fund, and then I will upload it to my database, and I get a link, and I immediately upload it to transcribe it, and then it will be analyzed, just seconds after. That's the plan. So yeah, I will talk a little bit more about it in a moment. Let me check. Is there anything going on in the chat? No, it seems not. Let me check. Can I react here? No. Oh. No. Okay. No, I don't know how to write anything in the chat. That's weird. I don't think that's supposed to be like that. But anyways, I can speak, right? So that's fine. Yeah, so the AI bubble, right? Are we in an AI bubble? Yes, we are in a way, but it's not like the dot-com bubble. I don't think it's comparable. First of all, back then we had like crazy multiples of like I don't know, 1,000 or 500 or something. That's not the case for the big companies nowadays. Like NVIDIA has like 30 or something. Let me briefly check. Actually, I just know the German price to earnings. Okay. PE, yeah, right. 54, so still not crazy, right? And a lot of the same goes for a lot of the other big tech companies like Microsoft, Google, right? They're all not at crazy multiples. Palantir is kind of an outlier here. They have really high, one over 100 or 100, yeah, they are also one of the stocks that Michael Burry, right, is betting against. So not surprising here, but yeah. So I don't think we are at those levels yet. So the big companies nowadays, compared to the dot-com era, they have real business, cash flow, right? They're profitable. They're much better capitalized as well than the companies were back then. So yeah, here we are in a different situation. Then there's real demand for AI. There are real applications. It's not just like all promising and dreams and visions and stuff. No, we have actual usage of this stuff. So yeah, even though it might be look bubblish, but yeah, there's something behind it. So there will be ups and downs, obviously, in the whole sector, and that's also something I need to emphasize. Like I personally have an investor mindset, which is more long-term mindset. I'm not a trader. That's very important to understand. Short-term price movements are not really what I'm paying attention to. So I'm more paying attention to fundamentals. The underlying story. Is it still intact, and is it solid business? And I think that's quite clear for AI over the medium term. But short-term price movements, can be violent, so definitely beware of that, or be careful there. So yeah, there's volatility, that can happen. And today the options pricing implied like a 7% up or down. Now it seems to be up. So that was quite interesting, and it's a violent swing. I think those 7% were like 320 billion or something market cap, right? So either created or annihilated basically for the earnings. So that's it's an entire huge company, right? And NVIDIA is basically trading that in minutes or something. So that's really crazy. The times we're living in, those companies are huge and have a huge impact, and NVIDIA has a huge impact on the market in general. So that is the AI bubble thesis in short. I don't think we are there in terms of like what many people are painting on the wall, or doomsayers are saying. Yes, it's a bubble. Yes, this bubble, like we need to be careful about it. There is serious hype going on, no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's different. This time it's different. Also, something really got to be careful, right? As investors, we like it's so easy to buy into a story, and actually not be really aware of, or to deceive yourself, right? It's also something you also have to be careful always as an investor. So yeah, let me briefly go through the numbers. I think that's the next thing we can do before I go deeper into my workflow. So here we see the expected numbers was like 54 to 56, 55 to 56 is a beat. Let me check what ChatGPT actually said. So here we go. 57, yeah, that's a strong beat, definitely. Earnings per share, 130. You can see here what was the, okay, that's a beat. It's pretty close, right on point, basically. Operating income, 36 billion. Oh, it's not even mentioned here. So yeah, anyways, we're strong bullish here for the whole thing. Operating expenses seem to be potential something to pay attention to. Okay. So let's jump into the workflow a bit. Then I'm gonna explain a bit deeper what's going on here actually. So again, this is manual. So once I set a link here, and this is an old link which I'm not using right now, right back like when the call is finished and I have my audio file. Basically what I will do is I upload it to here we go, to my bucket in Supabase. I'm using Supabase for this. But really anything is okay as long as you get a public link where my tool can download it immediately. Then it goes to the transcription, as I mentioned, F70 AI. Very straightforward setup. I just set the language and the webhook URL here, where to send it to, so that it then goes into the analysis section. So once it's transcribed, basically the webhook here is called, and then it gets into the analysis. And here, this is the crucial part, basically. So the prompt, right? And I will go a little bit deeper into that. The prompt I have here for you guys, and I broke it down a little bit cleaner so it's more visible. But it's not a perfect prompt. I think it can be adjusted and can be tweaked. And very important to know is that you can basically analyze anything with this. So any call, right, or any transcript you have, call transcript, you could analyze with this. It doesn't have to be, financial market analysis. You can, let it analyze or summarize your whatever video, for example, or audio. So what you could do on YouTube, right? You have YouTube to MP3 converter. So that's the only thing that the link I put into this set link to audio, it gotta be an MP3. All right, and you have for YouTube video to MP3 converter, you can just do that, upload the MP3, get a link, and then you can run it through here basically, and get it analyzed. So yeah, you're free to adjust this right, to whatever you need. So I think this is really useful in many ways, not just stock market analysis, but also daily life potentially, right? Just management, work in general. So this is a really nice tool, which you can use to analyze any audio that you have. So yeah, let's look a bit into it, what it's actually doing, right? So I told it to analyze the earnings call with a focus on revenue performance, growth drivers, risk signals, and potential expansion or monetization opportunities. And then I have a bunch of metrics that I set. For example, management intent and narrative direction, right? That's very important to understand. What was management trying to emphasize? Growth, cost discipline, AI transition, margin improvements, right? Were clearly communicated strategic priorities, long-term direction and stuff. Then revenue performance clarity, I just ask it to assign a value 0 to 100, so it's very clear. Evaluate how clearly management explained revenue growth, segment performance, regional trends, customer acquisition, or retention. Then the monetization upsell signal, also 0 to 100. Risk, obviously, right, and objection handling, guidance, credibility, or conversion probability. Then we get a summary as well. Super dry throat, sorry guys. Yeah, Utopia, you still here? Can you hear me? My one and only fan here. Okay, nice. Yeah, anyways, thanks for listening in. So yeah, we get the summary, then the key part, right? The key investor-related insights, management improvement insights. Okay, that's a little bit superfluous, to be honest, but I just didn't delete it. And the recommended follow-up actions, right? That's the key. for us as investors, right? We want to get actionable insights, actionable stuff. So how we can position ourselves, what should we do? So yeah, that's the prompt. Of course, freely adjustable, and it can be improved, obviously, right? So this is an experiment for me to see how it works, and based on the outcome, I will then refine it and improve it. So let's get back to the workflow here. Then I also have this JSON schema here, which I put in just according to ChatGPT, to be honest. So to structure the output, and then it goes further into get the subscription, the transcription. So from assembly, the workflow will grab the transcript. Then I'm running an LLM to analyze the transcript. You can see here using OpenAI, so ChatGPT for that. Using ChatGPT 4.0, to be honest, 5.1, right? Obviously better. Again, I didn't change it yet. I used the 4.0 for testing because it's cheap. And yeah, when stuff works, sometimes you're reluctant to change it. And I just, frankly, I didn't have the time before the call to tweak the model, because sometimes when you're changing the model, it will break stuff somewhere. So I just didn't do it for now, but that's something I would definitely recommend to update it to a newer model. Yeah, so then we have the analysis, and the analysis is then being sent to Supabase and stored there. Now it's showing red here because it's no execution data, right? I didn't execute the workflow. There's just no data, so that's why it's red at the moment. So yeah, and later I also want to save it in Notion, so I kind of build a small workflow after that just to store it in Notion, but that's not really relevant for now. Yeah, so that's the workflow. To do this, the crucial part is recording and then the uploading. So the uploading will take time. When I upload it to Supabase to then get the link to transcribe it. But once it's uploaded, the whole thing literally runs like within seconds. I have the past executions here I can show you. I did a test run with Microsoft's earnings call, and it took, as you can see here, about 21 seconds to get the final analysis, and that's pretty good. If you register on any platform that gives you the earnings transcript and stuff, then it takes usually like a few hours, sometimes up to 24 or 48, depending on your subscription, to get like a full analysis and to get the transcript, to get the audio. Actually, it takes at least a few hours, and yeah, by just doing it like DIY, you can significantly be significantly faster. So yeah, that's the goal, right? Be your own hedge fund, and we have the means now with AI. So let me briefly check my database, like on Supabase. Okay, nothing here for now. Anyways, I will later just get the raw JSON basically for the analysis, and run it through ChatGPT, and then we get our report right away, fresh out of the printing press, so to say. Yeah, let's listen in the earnings call. Let's see what's going on over there. Okay, good. Turn on the audio.
From data processing to science and engineering simulations, representing hundreds of billions of dollars in cloud computing spend each year. Many of these applications, which ran once exclusively on CPUs, are now rapidly shifting to CUDA GPUs. Accelerated computing has reached a tipping point. Secondly, AI is also reached a tipping point and is transforming existing applications while enabling entirely new ones. For existing applications, generative AI is replacing classical machine learning in search ranking, recommender systems, ad targeting, click-through prediction to content moderation, the very foundations of hyperscale infrastructure. Meta's GEM, a foundation model for ad recommendations trained on large-scale GPU clusters, exemplifies this shift. In Q2, Meta reported over a 5% increase in ad conversions on Instagram and 3% gain on Facebook feed.
Yeah, that's very important.
By generative AI-based GEM.
For now, it seems that
transitioning
basically
to generative AI represents
AI is supercharging
revenue gains
the business,
for
like the ad business of Google and Meta. So
now a new wave is rising. Agentic AI systems, capable of reasoning, planning, and using tools. From coding assistants like Cursor and Claude Code to radiology tools like iDoc, legal assistants like
healthcare.
Harvey, and AI chauffeurs
AI's
like
most
Tesla FSD and Waymo.
Applications. Also, Kathy Wood is betting on that.
Mark the next frontier of computing. The fastest growing companies in the world today, OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, Google, Cursor, Lovable, Replit, Cognition AI, OpenEvidence, Abridged, Tesla, are pioneering agentic AI. So there are three massive platform shifts. The transition to accelerated computing is foundational and necessary, essential in a post-Moore's Law era. The transition to generative AI is transformational and necessary, supercharging existing applications and business models. And the transition to agentic and physical AI will be revolutionary, giving rise to new applications.
Yeah, physical AI, robotics, right?
As you consider infrastructure investments, consider these three fundamental dynamics. Each will contribute to infrastructure growth in the coming years.
What's definitely bullish for
because our singular architecture
NVIDIA
is all
the earnings from the other hyperscalers, right, show increasing spending. So
and modality of AI
Meta might spend more than 100 billion.
All industries,
100 billion.
Across every phase of AI.
So a lot of countries don't have this kind of budget.
Computing needs
They're spending it on capex.
And also,
so AI build up
enterprise
in a year. So that's insane. That's insane.
Toshia, back to you.
We will now open the call for questions. Operator, would you please poll for questions?
Here we go. Q&A started. So
Thank you.
Yeah, let's see.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. As a reminder, please limit yourself to one question. Thank you. Your first question comes from Joseph Moore with Morgan Stanley. Your line is open.
Great, thank you. I wonder if you could update us. You talked about the $500 billion of revenue for Blackwell plus Rubin in 25 and 26 at GTC. At that time, you had talked about 150 billion of that already having been shipped. So as the quarter's wrapped up, are those still kind of the general parameters that there's 350 billion in the next kind of 14 months or so? And, I would assume over that time, you haven't seen all the demand that there is. There's any possibility of upside to those numbers as we move forward.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I'll start first with a response here on that. Yes, that's correct. We are working into our 500 billion forecast. And we are on track for that as we have finished some of the quarters. And now we have several quarters now in front of us to take us through the end of calendar year 26. The number will grow, and we will achieve, I'm sure, additional needs for compute that will be shippable by fiscal year 26. So we shipped 50 billion this quarter, but we would be not finished if we didn't say that we'll probably be taking more orders. For example, just even today, our announcements with KSA, and that agreement in itself is 400 to 600,000 more GPUs over 3 years. Anthropic is also net new. So there's definitely an opportunity for us to have more on top of the 500 billion that we announced.
The next question comes from CJ Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Your line is open.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. There's clearly a great deal of consternation around the magnitude of AI infrastructure build-outs and the ability to fund such plans and the ROI. Yet, at the same time, you're talking about being sold out every stood-up GPU taken. The AI world hasn't seen the enormous benefit yet, from B300, never mind Rubin. And Gemini 3 just announced Grok 5 coming soon. And so the question is this: when you look at that as the backdrop, do you see a realistic path for supply to catch up with demand over the next 12 to 18 months, or do you think it can extend beyond that time frame?
The question was, how would the market react? Right?
As you know, we've done a really good job planning our supply chain. NVIDIA supply chain basically includes
no matter even for Microsoft and other big tech, also they have really good numbers.
TSMC and their packaging,
their stocks also
our memory vendors
briefly.
And memory partners,
now the market is
all of our
recovering.
System ODMs have done a really good job planning with us, and we were planning for a big year. We've seen for some time the three transitions that I spoke about just a second ago: accelerated computing from general purpose computing. And it's really important to recognize that AI is not just agentic AI, but generative AI is transforming the way that hyperscalers did the work that they used to do on CPUs. Generative AI made it possible for them to move search and recommender systems and add recommendations and targeting. All of that has been moved to generative AI, and it's still transitioning. And so whether you installed NVIDIA GPUs for data processing, or you did it for generative AI for your recommender system, or you're building it for agentic chatbots and the type of AIs that most people see when they think about AI, all of those applications are accelerated by NVIDIA. And so when you look at the totality of the spend, it's really important to think about each one of those layers. They're all growing. They're related, but not the same. But the wonderful thing is that they all run on NVIDIA GPUs. Simultaneously, because the quality of the AI models are improving so incredibly, the adoption of it in the different use cases, whether it's in code assistance, which NVIDIA uses fairly exhaustively, and we're not the only one. I mean, the fastest growing application in history, combination of Cursor and Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex and GitHub Copilot. These applications are the fastest growing in history. And,
yeah, that's true. I think 70% or something
engineers. It's used
of
by
the developers are using
coding,
it.
It's used by
GitHub
engineers and
Copilot.
marketeers
They say it
all over
improves
companies.
efficiency. So
Supply chain planners,
again, this
all
stuff is
over
real.
companies. And so I think that that's just one example, and the list goes on. Whether it's
and that's just one example.
The work that they do in healthcare, or the work that's being done in digital video editing, Runway, and I mean the number of
recently there was a really interesting debate. All the AI
taking advantage of generative AI and
creators like
AI
Hinton, Jan LeCun,
not to mention
right, Fei
we're all
Li,
using it a lot more.
So many of the people they were on the same stage.
Exponentials, not to mention,
that was really
today
good.
I was
The
reading a
discussion
text
can really recommend it
from Demis,
if you
and he was
catch
saying
up a bit on AI.
that pre-training and post-training are fully intact.
Jensen said, well, during the
Gemini 3
dot-com bubble, right, all the
advantage
fiber,
of the scaling
it was
laws
dark, right?
and
Nobody was really using it. But
a
nowadays,
huge jump
like
in
today, he
quality
said every
and
GPU on
performance,
Earth
model performance.
is running
And so
full
we're
speed.
seeing
So
all of these exponentials kind of running at the same time. And just always go back to first principles and think about what's happening from each one of the dynamics that I mentioned before. General purpose computing to accelerated computing, generative AI replacing classical machine learning, and of course, agentic AI, which is a brand new category.
The next question comes from Vivek Arya with Bank of America Securities. Your line is open.
Thanks for taking my question. I'm curious, what assumptions are you making on NVIDIA content per gigawatt in that 500 billion number? Because we have heard numbers as low as 25 billion per gigawatt of content to as high as 30 or 40 billion per gigawatt. So I'm curious what power and what dollar per gigawatt assumptions you are making as part of that 500 billion number. And then longer term, Jensen, the 3 to 4 trillion in data center by 2030 was mentioned. How much of that do you think will require vendor financing, and how much of that can be supported by cash flows of your large customers or governments or enterprises? Thank you.
In each generation, from Ampere to Hopper, from Hopper to Blackwell, Blackwell to Rubin, our part of the data center increases, and Hopper generation was probably something along the lines of 20 some odd, 20 to 25. Blackwell generation, Grace Blackwell particularly, is probably 30 to 30, say 30 plus or minus, and then Rubin is probably higher than that. And in each one of these generations, the speed up is X factors, and therefore their TCO, the customer TCO, improves by X factors. And the most important thing is, in the end, you still only have 1 gigawatt of power. 1 gigawatt data centers, 1 gigawatt of power, and therefore performance per watt, the efficiency of your architecture, is incredibly important. And the efficiency of your architecture can't be brute forced. There is no brute forcing about it. That 1 gigawatt translates directly, your performance per watt translates directly, absolutely directly to your revenues, which is the reason why choosing the right architecture matters so much now. The world doesn't have an excess of anything to squander. And so we have to be really, really, we use this concept called co-design across our entire stack, across the frameworks and models, across the entire data center, even power and cooling optimized across the entire supply chain in our ecosystem. And so each generation, our economic contribution will be greater, our value delivered will be greater, but the most important thing is our energy efficiency per watt is going to be extraordinary every single generation.
I'm gonna
with respect
stop
to
it
growing
here for a moment. So yeah, I think the questions, okay. Maybe listen back in later. Anyway, soon our AI will wrap up for us, and I think it's really interesting. Like to listen to Jensen and his vision. I can really just recommend it to watch like interviews with him and stuff. He has a really like comprehensive view of where the whole AI like revolution and industry is heading. Of course, it's self-serving in a lot of cases for him, right? To say that, hey, we are not in a bubble, right? And it's like basically going all well and so on. On the other hand, he has his credibility at stake as well, right? And he wouldn't talk like that. I think it's fair to say and safe to say that in the medium term to long term, he will like be 90 to 95% right, at least maybe 99% even. Like AI is gonna revolutionize so many industries, and it's doing that already, right? And as you said, the fastest applications ever, right, are AI applications, fastest growing applications. So yeah, this is not just some future promise, right? It's going to happen maybe tomorrow, right? It's not like cold fusion stuff. So yeah, I think safe to say that there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, and the market seems to validate him. So yeah, we have stock is jumping, numbers are good, the AI story seems to be intact. So the way I was thinking about this was like in scenarios, and it's also important for investors, right? Don't like think in just probabilities, think in scenarios. Make sure that you're ready and prepared for each scenario. Super important. Yeah, and you gotta find ways to cut through the noise, right? That's personally, I would say I'm not the fastest person, so that's where AI is completely like augmenting me in a very powerful way. But personally, I've never been the kind of guy who's checking charts every day, right, and looking at the basically eyeballing charts the whole day. Not really my thing. I prefer to have like a really longer term thesis, and then ignore the noise and see, okay, is this thesis still intact, right? Is it still valid? That's where I prefer. Much less stressful. Of course, I admit, right? There's some like I admire traders as well, right? They're very very fast thinkers. I think there's a lot of wisdom required as well to be a good trader. Yeah, it's just not really my thing. It's kind of stressful in many ways, and yeah, very data driven. And personally, I'm super into data, and I'm using AI to analyze data, and that's something where AI again empowers me to do stuff which I couldn't do on my own ability, to be very honest. But AI is just like your superpower that can help you to do all these things that you want to do, and before you couldn't or just could do with like basically grinding years of study, right? So that's the magic ability about it. Yeah, so I thought about three scenarios, right? What if right? NVIDIA misses the earnings. Admittedly, right, not a very likely outcome from the beginning or to start with. But even then, I would say the AI party would have still been on, just the music toned down a bit. Demand would have been strong still, but the rate of growth would have been cooling in that case, and it would just show that the industry has to digest a lot of the stuff, right? That has happened, and all the spending, right, and the scaling. So in that case, like cash-rich hyperscalers, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and so on, Meta, would have looked better, rather disciplined, and the AI software players that can show ROI, right, per dollar of GPU, which is optimization, right, means orchestration, inference efficiency, that those would have been the winners. Obviously, losers would have been pure play AI hardware and GPU, narrative stocks like NVIDIA, AMD, or high multiple AI infra names with no diversification, or small but speculative AI names whose only story is like, hey, we are AI, right, or AI adjacent or whatever. So yeah, in that case, traders and investors would have moved probably from just focusing on growth at any price to rather show me the ROI. So that's the miss scenario, and they would have investors might have rotated like profitable but diversified and diversified big tech. But let's not spend too much time here because that's clearly not what's happening, right? The second scenario, just briefly in line, right, would have been AI engines still humming, but kind of we are no longer in a vertical takeoff mode. Strong growth still, right, just not increasingly explosive. And in that case, the market, reaction might have been very choppy. And this could have helped, quality compounders with AI exposure, but not AI only. For example, cloud, semis with diversification, not just AI, right, but consumer potentially and other things. And analog supplies, networking, and investors generally who would have been into visibility and stability more than hype driven or growth driven. Would have been in a better position. The positioning would have been right. AI shifting to more like industrial backbone, right? Kind of plateauing for a while, maybe. The edge then moves from guessing blowout quarters to understand, where inside the stack the value actually accumulates, cloud infra, tools, or apps. But again, that's not what happened, and we're clearly in the beat scenario. The AI build out is still in the mania meets fundamentals phase, and hyperscalers and big enterprises are still stepping on the gas. Basically, that's what we see. So we can take maybe a look at a few other AI stocks as well. See how did they do. Check MD. Yeah, also jumped a bit. See what Broadcom is doing. Yeah, nice jumped as well. Right, so I think NVIDIA is pulling up everyone here, and that's the thing about this company, right? It's like an index inside of an index. It's like 7 or 8% of the S&P 500, so it's just massive. And AI is what's pulling up the S&P, right? So again, this is, I don't want to say this time it's different, but it's definitely kind of an interesting and unique story. I would say I don't know. I've rarely seen anything like that. So let's check here. Okay. Oh, here. Here's the map, the heat map. Google did very well as well. AFCO is one of the big winners today, it seems. Let's listen back in.
Workloads, and its perf per dollar is excellent. Its perf per watt is excellent, and which made me forget the first part of the question.
I'd love to have some booze.
Inferencing.
Oh, inference. Yeah, there are 3 scaling laws that are scaling at the same time.
That would be fun.
The first scaling law,
unfortunately, it's 5.
called pre-training,
6:30,
continues to be very effective
at the moment. It's in the morning.
The second is post-training. Post-training
drinking wouldn't be a good idea at all.
Has found incredible algorithms for improving an AI's ability to break a problem down and solve a problem step by step. and post-training is scaling exponentially. Basically, the more compute you apply to a model, the smarter it is, the more intelligent it is. And then the third is inference. Inference, because of chain of thought, because of reasoning capabilities, AIs are essentially reading, thinking before it answers. And the amount of computation necessary as a result of those three things has gone completely exponential. I think that it's hard to know exactly what the percentage will be at any given point in time and who. But of course, our hope is that inference is a very large part of the market, because if inference is large, then what it suggests is that people are using it in more applications, and they're using it more frequently. And that's, we should all hope for inference to be very large. And this is where Grace Blackwell is just an order of magnitude better, more advanced than anything in the world. The second best platform is H200. And it's very clear now that GB200, GB300, because of NVLink 72, the scale-up network that we have, achieved, and you saw, and Colette talked about in the semi-analysis benchmark, it's the largest single inference benchmark ever done. And GB200, NVLink 72, is 10 to 15 times higher performance. And so that's a big step up. It's going to take a long time before somebody is able to take that on. And our leadership there is surely multi-year. Yeah. And so I think I'm hoping that inference becomes a very big deal. Our leadership in inference is extraordinary.
Bullish. Next question comes from Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Your line is open.
Thanks a lot. Jensen, many of your customers are pursuing behind-the-meter power, but what's the single biggest bottleneck that worries you that could constrain your growth? Is it power, or maybe it's financing, or maybe it's something else like memory or even foundry? Thanks a lot.
Well, these are all issues, and they're all constraints. And the reason for that, when you're growing at the rate that we are and the scale that we are, how could anything be easy? What NVIDIA is doing obviously has never been done before. And we've created a whole new industry. On the one hand,
it's insane if you think about it, like how that happened.
Computing
right?
from general purpose and classical or traditional computing to accelerated computing and AI. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we created a whole new industry called AI factories. The idea that in order for software to run, you need these factories to generate every single token instead of retrieving information that was pre-created. And so I think this whole transition requires extraordinary scale. And all the way from the supply chain, of course, the supply chain, we have much better visibility and control over, because, obviously we're incredibly good at managing our supply chain. We have great partners that we've worked with for 33 years. And so the supply chain part of it, we're quite confident. Now, looking down our supply chain,
it's like nothing happened here for
established partnerships with so many players in land and power and shell.
So I'm a crypto guy.
And,
this looks
of
like
course,
a
financing.
crypto chart.
These things, none of these things are easy, but they're all tractable.
Just a little
bit,
solvable
things. And the most important thing that we have to do is do a good job planning. We plan up the supply chain, down the supply chain. We have established a whole lot of partners, and so we have a lot of routes to market. And very importantly, our architecture has to deliver the best value to the customers that we have. And so at this point, I'm very confident that NVIDIA's architecture is the best performance per TCO. It is the best performance per watt, and therefore for any amount of energy that is delivered, our architecture will drive the most revenues. And I think the increasing rate of our success, I think that we're more successful this year at this point than we were last year at this point. The number of customers coming to us and the number of platforms coming to us after they've explored others is increasing, not decreasing. And so I think the
strong sign.
I think
and
all of
it's
that
funny
is just,
if you check
all the
what
things
happened
that I've
last
been
year. They
telling
had
you
also good
over the
numbers,
years
obviously,
are really coming true
stock
and
crashed quite a bit.
becoming evident.
And at this point, right, with this scale and in this market,
the next question comes from Stacy Raskin
with
Bernstein Research.
Like this,
your line is open.
Basically,
questions. Colette, I have some questions on margins.
Really not easy.
You said for next year you're working to hold them in the mid-70s. So I guess, first of all, what are the biggest cost increases? Is it just memory or is it something else? What are you doing to work toward that? Is it, how much is like, cost optimizations versus pre-buys versus pricing? And then also, how should we think about OpEx growth next year, given the revenues seem likely to grow materially from where we're running right now?
Thanks, Stacey. Let me see if I can start with remembering where we were with the current fiscal year that we're in. Remember, earlier this year, we indicated that through cost improvements and mix that we would exit the year in our gross margins in the mid-70s. We've achieved that and getting ready to also execute that in Q4. So now it's time for us to communicate where are we working right now in terms of next year. Next year, there are input prices that are well known in the industries that we need to work through. And our systems are by no means very easy to work with. There are a tremendous amount of components, many different parts of it as we think about that. So we're taking all of that into account, but we do believe as we look at working again on cost improvement, cycle time, and mix, that we will work to try and hold at our gross margins in the mid-70s. So that's our overall plan for gross margin. Your second question is around OpEx. And right now, our goal in terms of OpEx is to really make sure that we are innovating with our engineering teams, with all of our business teams, to create more and more systems for this market. As you know, right now we have a new architecture coming out, and that means they are quite busy in order to meet that goal. And so we're going to continue to see our investments on innovating more and more, both our software, both our systems, and our hardware to do so. I'll turn it to Jensen if he wants to add in a couple more comments.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think the only thing that I would add is remember that we plan, we forecast, we plan, and we negotiate with our supply chain well in advance. Our supply chain have known for quite a long time our requirements, and they've known for quite a long time our demand, and we've been working with them and negotiating with them for quite a long time. And so I think the recent surge, obviously quite significant, but remember our supply chain has been working with us for a very long time. And so in many cases we've secured a lot of supply for ourselves because obviously they're working with the largest company in the world in doing so, and we've also been working closely with them on the financial aspects of it and securing forecasts and plans and so on and so forth. So I think all of that has worked out well for us.
Your final question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Your line is open.
Gonna get interesting.
Yeah, thanks for taking the question. Jensen, the question for you, as you think about the Anthropic deal that was announced and just the overall breadth of your customers, I'm curious if your thoughts around the role that AI ASICs or dedicated XPUs play in these architecture build-outs has changed at all. Have you seen, I think you've been fairly adamant in the past that some of these programs never really see deployments, but I'm curious if we're at a point where maybe that's even changed more in favor of just GPU architecture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I really appreciate the question. So first of all, you're not competing against teams. You're against a company. You're competing against teams, and there just aren't that many teams in the world who are extraordinary at building these incredibly complicated things. Back in the Hopper day and the Ampere days, we would build one GPU. That's the definition of an accelerated AI system. But today, we've got to build entire racks, 3 different types of switches a scale up, a scale out, and a scale across switch. And it takes a lot more than one chip to build a compute node anymore. Everything about that computing system, because AI needs to have memory, AI didn't used to have memory at all. Now it has to remember things. The amount of memory and context it has is gigantic. The memory architecture implication is incredible. The diversity of models, from mixture of experts to dense models to diffusion models to autoregressive, not to mention, biological models that obeys the laws of physics. The list of different types of models have exploded in the last several years. And so the challenge is the complexity of the problem is much higher. The diversity of AI models is incredibly large. And so this is where, if I will say, the 5 things that makes us special, if you will. The first thing I would say that makes us special is that we accelerate every phase of that transition. That's the first phase. That CUDA allows us to have CUDA X for transitioning from general purpose to accelerated computing. We're incredibly good at generative AI. We're incredibly good at agentic AI. So every single phase of that, every single layer of that transition, we are excellent at. You can invest in one architecture, use it across the board. You can use one architecture and not worry about the changes in the workload across those 3 phases. That's number 1. Number 2, we're excellent at every phase of AI. Everybody's always known that we're incredibly good at pre-training. We're obviously very good at post-training, and we're incredibly good, as it turns out, at inference, because inference is really, really hard. How could thinking be easy? People think that inference is one shot and therefore it's easy. Anybody could approach the market that way. But it turns out to be the hardest of all, because thinking, as it turns out, is quite hard. We're great at every phase of AI, the second thing. The third thing is we're now the only architecture in the world that runs every AI model.
Intelligence industry.
Every frontier AI model. We run open source AI models incredibly well. We run science models, biology models, robotics models. We run every single model. We're the only architecture in the world that can claim that. It doesn't matter whether you're autoregressive or diffusion based. We run everything. And we run it for every major platform, as I just mentioned. So we run every model. And then the fourth thing I would say is that we're in every cloud. The reason why developers love us is because we're literally everywhere. We're in every cloud. We're in every, we could even make you a little tiny cloud called DGX Spark. And so we're in every computer. We're everywhere, from cloud to on-prem to robotic systems, edge devices, PCs, you name it. One architecture, things just work. It's incredible. And then the last thing, and this is probably the most important thing, the fifth thing, is if you are a cloud service provider, if you're a new company like Humane, if you're a new company like CoreWeave or Nscale or Nebius, or OCI for that matter, the reason why NVIDIA is the best platform for you is because our offtake is so diverse. We can help you with offtake. It's not about just putting a random ASIC into a data center. Where's the offtake coming from? Where's the diversity coming from? Where's the resilience coming from? The versatility of the architecture coming from, the diversity of capability coming from. NVIDIA has such incredibly good offtake because our ecosystem is so large. So these 5 things, every phase of acceleration and transition, every phase of AI, every model, every cloud to on-prem, and of course, finally, it all leads to offtake.
Thank you. I will now turn the call to Toshiya Hari for closing remarks.
In closing, please note we will be at the UBS Global Technology and AI Conference on December 2nd, and our earnings call to discuss the results of our 4th quarter of fiscal 2026 is scheduled for February 25th. Thank you for joining us today. Operator, please go ahead and close the call.
Thank you. This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.
Okay, now it's gonna get interesting, and we will stop the recording of the audio. So let me now briefly export. exporting the audio to my PC, and then I'll upload it directly. Just let me check whether it worked.
All our statements are made.
Yeah, okay. Good. Looks good. Yeah, here's my database. Okay. See. Okay, here we go. Let me check the it's not showing up yet. Still uploading. Yeah, about 20%, so it takes time. Let's check. Okay, crap, the upload didn't work. Thank God I have a second option. Okay, let's give it a try. It's super weird. I don't get it why. Superbase uploads fail sometimes for whatever reason. I have no clue. I mean, it's not that I have no clue, but fixing it is super annoying. It seems to be related to the metadata of the files, because I'm recording them on my PC, and yeah, it's just very weird. By the way, there's an interesting way to cheese the whole like thing. I mean, not in this case. If you want to, if you want to be quick, right, you have to do it like this. You have to record and then upload and do that on your own. But if you just want the recording and you don't care about the time, you can just go to a website like Seeking Alpha, for example. Or not Seeking Alpha, sorry. Let me check what was the one I used. So Okay, crap. Both my audios are not uploading. Okay, try to remove the metadata from the file and try to upload it again. Super annoying. Yeah, 40% now. Oh, no, it didn't work. Crap. Okay. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, that's yeah, that's all I can do for this live stream. So I have to do some debugging and see how I can basically fix the files. So there's something wrong with the upload in the database. It's not working properly. But yeah, all this can be fixed. And again, like there's a way to get the recordings if you're not in a hurry. Let me check for the website. Oh yeah, Alpha Street. There we go. So basically what you can do is you can go to Alpha Street and then check. Okay, it's here. And you search for the ticker. And here you have the audio, for example, right? You can actually click on more, right? And then here you got it. Yeah, okay. You can basically inspect here, and then you can extract the raw like link to it, and you download it from here. Basically, there's a way where you can just download the audio file from here, and yeah, then you can upload it. That's what I did for my test. And yeah, for some reason the PC recording isn't working this time, so I gotta fix that. But yeah, anyways, if you're not in a hurry, you can do it like this. So yeah, thanks for listening. I don't think anybody listened, but doesn't matter. This was like a good live test. I had a great time here, and yeah, we'll keep grinding, right? We'll keep forging alpha. So thanks a lot, guys, and see you in the forge.